when I read that Trevor Bauer had given an interview and he was on Fox News' America's Newsroom. And I was just expecting the normal drivel out of his mouth where he goes through a laundry list of things that he has not done and all of the ways he's been wronged and the way that baseball is screwing him and everybody else. It's everybody else's fault, not his. But then I was listening and thinking and reading, and is it possible that Trevor Bauer is finally listening to his advisors and his advisors are not named Rachel Luba? Is it possible that someone sat him down and said, listen, Trev, I'm not sure that you're ever going to play Major League Baseball again, but that said, why don't we try something better? Why don't we see if we can be a little contrite? Why don't we try the following? Why don't we say that we understand that my actions are wrong? I understand that I've been reckless. I understand that I've hurt people. I understand that I've compromised teammates and family and friends and leagues. Why don't we take that out for a walk and see what happens? What is the object of Trevor Bauer's last gasp? He wants to play Major League Baseball again. And it is now January 5th. Pitchers and catchers report on February 15th, round number. He has to decide whether he's going to play for a Japanese team again. He has to decide where his money is going to come from. So this is the last gasp for many free agents. The upper free agents in baseball, like the Blake Snells, the Jordan Montgomerys, the Cody Bellingers, they will get deals. For mid-level and lower-level free agents, you're waiting and you're not frantic right now because you know going into spring training that even if you're not signed, there's still time before the season starts. Trevor Bauer is not in any of those positions because he's not a low-level, mid-level, or high-level free agent. As he's so eloquently put, he's one of the best pitchers in the world, according to him. So one of the best pitchers in the world who can't get signed. What can he change in order to change the mind of a front office? So I was sitting there thinking as a front office, what would I need him to say? And how would it seem? And how would I explain to my fan base? And how would I explain to the commissioner? Is it enough for him to say, I know I've made mistakes? No. Is it enough for him to say, how do I get better from the experiences that I've had? I've made mistakes in my personal life, but I'm detail-oriented when it comes to baseball and my training, and I didn't apply that scrutiny to my personal life. All right, that's an interesting tack that they're taking. The reason why Trevor Bauer has not been able to find a team is not only has it been suggested that he not be a part of any team, and I'm not saying that there is collusion. I'm not saying that there is anything nefarious going on. I'm saying it's very clear to all teams that Trevor Bauer in Major League Baseball is not what Major League Baseball wants. Given that lack of desire on behalf of Major League Baseball and its teams, and Trevor Bauer knowing this, his only possible path, which is certain to fail, but the only possible path is the path of contrition. So then teams look at what he is saying, how he is saying it, because then they have to come up with another reason why they're not willing to engage with him. Before this contrition, before this interview, it was very easy for a team to say, it's just not worth it. Whatever talent level your client has, we cannot take the microphone at a press conference and announce his signing. Our teammates, our players don't want him. Our fans don't want him. Our sponsors don't want him. There is no scenario under which that the equation ever leans toward the side of signing him, because there's an absence of anything out of his mouth other than absolute spewing of idiocy. So then when informed and convinced to go this direction, now as a front office, I have to say to myself, I have a few directions I can go, but I've lost one of them. We don't have payroll capacity. His demands are too high. You can always say that about a player. So that's one. Two, we don't have a fit. The problem is when you're a starting pitcher, there is not one team who doesn't have a fit for a starting pitcher. You can say that for an outfielder. You can say it for a second baseman. The Red Sox did it the Braves did it when they traded Vaughn Grissom. There are many, many positions where you can say, oh, we're good at closer, but then I would argue make him an eighth inning guy. Starting pitching is an example where you can't give the excuse, no need. All right, next, 3, roster spot. That's always a great one that the union and the league fight about because roster spots are at the complete discretion of the front office. It is totally up to me who I want to be on my 40-man roster. And it doesn't matter what Baseball America says. It doesn't matter what the union scouts say or MLB scouts. It doesn't matter what other teams say. I do my 40-man roster according to my view of roster management and my projection of players who have not yet made the big leagues, and then my projections of players who can pass through waivers. Passing through waivers is what you have to do when you take someone off your 40-man roster in order to keep him. So you can't ever have an argument. There is no grievance that can be won, hey, this player should be on your 40-man roster. In addition, the union can never argue in a grievance, hey, the reason why this player was not signed is collusion. And the reason we know that is these 10 teams had spots on their 40-man roster and it needed starting pitching. No, can't be argued. So one thing that a team could now say is, hey, we don't have space for him because we don't want to have Trevor Bauer, as good as he may be. We're not willing to take the chance of removing someone from our roster. So that's 3. The fourth thing that a front office can do is they can say that we don't value him as a starting pitcher or as a teammate according to the value that he has put upon himself. Therefore, we've decided to pass. And all of these things that we're mentioning rise above the level of any possible scrutiny. But what Bauer has done that interests me in this last gasp is he's taken away what has always been the number one line of defense for the 30 teams, which is we don't want this POS on our team because he is still a POS and he's acting as though we didn't do anything. So this last gasp of Trevor Bauer, and then the show's starting, I'm going through it with Coca, and I realized that there's one more gasp. So his apology tour is the second to last gasp. There's one more. His agents could go to teams and say Trevor Bauer wants to play for you, and he's willing to be paid the minimum. Because at $20 million or $30 million a year, easy. Add that to the list. There's no fit, not value. But at the minimum, a starting pitcher of Trevor Bauer's quality, at the minimum, that's hard to find. So if he were to take that away from teams, his price point, and he's taking away the fact that he's never apologized, then we're going to see what happens.